I told my stepfather who raised me that he is not my dad because he didn't treat me like his son. My mom married my stepfather when I was only 1 year old. He had a biological 1-year-old son, and then they had a daughter a year later together. My stepbrother and I are 16 and our half-sister is 14. Stepfather is the only father figure I ever knew and I've always called him dad. My actual dad is not in my life. Growing up I always noticed that he treated me differently. He never mistreated me, but he was always more interested in his own children than me. In fact, he always showed very little interest in me. I've always felt like a second-class family member to him. My mom treats my stepbrother exactly like me but stepfather doesn't do the same for me. Anyway, this last couple of years have been difficult because my stepfather started doing stuff with my siblings, like going on trips, going fishing or hiking, father-children bonding moments as he calls it. Their whole family looks forward to the trips and always have a blast. They come back from every trip with seems like hundreds of stories. He's never taken me with him despite me always asking to go. Initially he always said maybe next time until I called him out last week and he took me aside and explained that this is for him and his children. I'm not his child like they are. He said he loves me but it's different. Hearing this from him completely shattered my heart. I've always knew he felt that way, but hearing it in words is a different level of pain. He said that he can't dilute the experience by bringing me as well but he said my mom can spend some other child moments with me and my sister if she wants to as well, and that it would be good for us to have that only for us. This conversation happened on Friday before they went off for a weekend trip. My mom told me that this is how he feels. She can't change it but she's made sure I'm always treated equally when it comes to money, which has been true. But she can't change the way he feels so I need to accept it. I've been thinking all weekend and it was clear to me that if he doesn't see me as his son, it's wrong of me to see him as my dad. It's clear that I'm the stepchild he tolerates because of my mom. I'm not going to pretend like we're anything more. I decided to stop calling him dad and go by his first name. So on Sunday night after they returned I said, "Hi Tom." He was surprised but didn't say anything. At dinner he asked me what was that about and I explained that I don't want to dilute the experience he has with his real children by calling him dad when clearly I'm not his son. It's something that should be kept for his actual children. I was told to go to my room by my mom. Later she came to me and said this has hurt him and I should apologize. I said that I was just following his lead and treating him exactly like how he wants to be treated by his actions. He should look in the mirror because that's his actions. My mom told me in the end that this is the man who has raised me all my life and I need to apologize and show my remorse. She says he's 95% of the way for being a dad to me. I shouldn't ignore all of that and focus on the missing 5% and reject him entirely. I declined, said he's the one who needs to apologize if he wants things to change between us. Am I in the wrong?
My sister wants me to change my baby's name after I changed it for her once already. I have a 9-year-old daughter and another daughter on the way. I had 2 grandmothers, named Annie and Rose. I named my oldest, Annabelle. I did not name her after Nana Rose because at the time Nana Rose was still with us. When I found out I was pregnant with a second daughter, I decided to name her after Nana Rose, who sadly passed in 2017 and who I miss very much. My sister Lucy got pregnant about 5 months before me. She says that she wants to name her baby Rose after our late grandmother Nana Rose. I told her that our kids can share the name and I think it will be nice and fun, and might strengthen their bond. My sister says, I already have Annabelle, and I could have named her Annabelle Rose or something, but I passed on the chance. So I can't also have Rose. I figured this is not the hill to die on and there are more important things to disagree on in life. So I said that I'll just go look for something else. I then crack open a baby book, and after a few entries after Rose, is the name Rosalie. It's so perfect. Honors Nana Rose, doesn't piss off Lucy, and my boyfriend absolutely loves it. Lucy finds out the new name and says it's lovely and she approves of it, which annoys me, but I say nothing to avoid more problems. This all takes place in the 8th month of her pregnancy, 3rd month of mine. So I don't even know the gender yet and this is all a hypothetical. A couple weeks later, Lucy finally gives birth to her daughter. When I say I was completely caught by surprise, I really mean it. She announces that her daughter's name is Rosalie. The name we agreed that I will settle for because she really wanted Rose. At this point, I'm really annoyed because I went to great lengths to leave the name Rose available and she took it from me. I am not attending my twin's birthday party because I'm only invited as a guest. So me and my twin brother are super close and we hang out all the time. In a few days it's our 25th birthday and we share the same friend group, which is the same group of friends we have had since high school. He also has a close group of girlfriends which I've known for the past 5 years, so I definitely class them as closer friends to him but we hang out all the time. We will call my twin brother Steve. I was added to a group chat called Steve's Surprise Birthday Dinner. It was organized by this one girl in the group, Amy, and it's very clear that I'm invited just as a guest. One of the groups said that it would also be nice to see me on my birthday as well, so I obviously just felt like a bit of an afterthought to them. I wouldn't have even minded if the girls had made like a little party for just them and my brother, but it's the fact that they've invited me and then my close friends and my partner as well. I don't get how I'm invited to my literal twin brother's birthday when it's also my birthday as well, especially by one of our closest friends. Like what? My boyfriend also found this really strange. He was like, why didn't she just reach out to me and we could have arranged something together as a surprise for the both of you guys. So in the chat it clearly states a certain time that we're all to arrive because my brother is getting there 20 minutes late. The fact that me and my brother are twins is not new information to the organizer. Like I said, we've been friends for several years. And also me and my brother literally always do joint things for our birthday as well, so I don't know why they've decided this year to do something entirely different. Last year we had this super big dinner. Our whole friend group were invited. All of his friends, all of my friends, our partners. So now I'm at a crossroads because I just don't know whether or not I'm going to attend. I'm just going to feel left out because our mutual friends are going and I'm not going to be able to see them, or on the other hand I do go, but I just know how I'm gonna feel. I'm just gonna spend the whole meal sitting feeling uncomfortable, feeling disrespected. I'm just scared that it's gonna feel like only my brother is the one being celebrated on our shared birthday. So let me know what you think I should do and I will give you an update as soon as I have one. My sister ruined my relationship so I watched her world fall apart. So my sister Amy hates me. She is the golden child of our family. She was one of those kids that was literally good at everything. Dancing, singing, baking, acting, you name it. She was perfect at everything. And she loved to rub it in my face that she was always better than me. She was constantly 2 steps ahead of me. She tells me how everyone loved her more than they loved me. Over the years, I just became her little validation punching bag. She just thinks her life is this huge survival game where she's the star player where the world revolves around her, and everyone around her are just her little psychics in the game. If I got a B and she got an A, it was the perfect opportunity for her to show how much better she was than me. Even marrying the only good guy in the neighborhood was an absolute trophy moment for her, because she knew he was my first love. I had always dreamed of us both getting away from this garbage hole and moving away to Spain together. As Amy realized that I really liked Jane, she wanted him at whatever cost and she ultimately got him, like she always does. He fell in love with her the same way all of my family did. Unfortunately, Jane passed away. Amy was obviously heartbroken, but so was I too. But I had to put up this consoling front for my sister. And being completely honest, seeing how heartbroken she was over Jane's death made us grow closer together as sisters. To make sure she wasn't alone, I invited her to live with me and my boyfriend, Mike, for a few days. Mike and I had been with each other for about 2 years at this point. So Mike and I had just arranged a Valentine's trip to Hawaii together and I really didn't want to leave Amy on her own since she was grieving so much about Jane. I convinced Mike to let Amy tag along on our Hawaii trip. 4 days before the trip I came home early. I saw Mike and Amy in my bed together and instead of giving me an explanation as to what the hell was going on, Mike broke up with me there and then and I could just see the smirk on Amy's face in that moment. And 2 days later, I saw on Mike's Facebook that they were in a relationship together. And in her eyes, she was top of the leaderboard again. She was first place, she won the gold medal. Her and Mike went on that Valentine's trip to Hawaii together. So I decided to make a little trip of my own. So remember when I said I wanted to move to Spain with Jane? I decided to go on a road trip to Spain. I am not alone. I did a little stop at Amy's house before I left. On this trip, I had the company of my first love sitting in the passenger seat next to me. For the first time in my life, I was at the top of the leaderboard. Taking your sister's deceased husband has to top hooking up with your sister's boyfriend, right? I canceled the plans for Thanksgiving after my parents called my brother's baby their first grandchild. My mom said since my niece is their first grandchild of course they have to spoil her. My kids were sitting in the living room with all of us, and my youngest daughter looked so hurt when she realized what my mother just said. My son and my 11-year-old didn't fully react to it, but I could tell it really bothered the both of them too. Sarah spoke up and said, "Oh, you mean first grandbaby, not first grandchild." My dad shook his head and replied that my niece was their first grandchild. After he said this, I didn't want my kids to keep sitting there and listening to that garbage, so I handed my son my keys and told him to wait in the car with all of his sisters. When they were gone, I asked my parents why the hell they'd say that my kids weren't their grandchildren, and my mom said they couldn't be their grandchildren because they weren't really my children. My wife and I were going to be hosting Thanksgiving at our house this year, but I told my parents that if they didn't view my kids as their family, then they could just host a meal at their own house with their real family, while their fake family spends the holiday at my house. I left before they could say anything else. I practically cut them off with the slam of the front door. My wife and I have reiterated to our children that they will always be my kids and I will always be their other mom, regardless of our DNA. My brother is pissed at me now because he thinks I reacted way too harshly, and that I should try to see where my parents are coming from with their statements. My mom texted saying that she and my dad love the kids, but they still aren't their real grandchildren, and she hopes that we can come to understand that because she doesn't want this to ruin my niece's first ever Thanksgiving.
I'm bringing my sister-in-law's wallet to the restaurant because she conveniently always forgets it. My sister-in-law Jenna, female 26, always comes to visit from out of town. She stays with us instead of a hotel to save money and always wants to go to all the expensive restaurants. She always conveniently forgets her wallet or comes up with some excuses as to why she can't pay her share of the bill. She has implied that since I make much more money than her, I should be the one to pay for all of her food. No, not my husband should pay, but me in specific. I do make a fair amount of money, but not so much that I can treat someone every time they come into town. Nonetheless, in the past, I have just paid the bill and asked her to pay me back, but she never does. And honestly, I'm getting really effing tired of it and I have reached my breaking point with this girl. She had made a reservation at an extremely expensive restaurant last night. And before we left, I made it very clear to her that I will not be paying her bill under any circumstance. Now listen, this is where I might be the jerk and I'll admit, I got this move straight from an episode of 2.5 Men. As we were leaving, her and my husband went to the car and we were all ready to drive to the restaurant. I pretended I forgot something and went back inside. I went inside the guest room she was staying in, and I found her wallet conveniently sitting right on top of her suitcase while we are going to a very expensive restaurant. So, what better thing to do than put it in my purse and go back inside the restaurant? My sister-in-law practically ordered the most expensive things on the menu. When we were done eating, I asked for separate bills. She said, "No, we need one bill," because she forgot her wallet again. I reached in my purse and said, "This wallet? This is gold." She was extremely furious, going as far to screaming in this very quiet and peaceful restaurant. She looked like a complete lunatic and I felt the second-hand embarrassment. She said that I should have not touched or grabbed her wallet. So am I the jerk for taking her wallet?
I threw away my husband's dinner after he went to eat at his mom's house. My mother-in-law calls every night to ask what we're having for dinner. Then she brags about what she's cooking to make me look bad, especially if we're getting takeout. I used to care but not anymore. My husband always would ask me to make him dinner, only for him to just go to his mom's house, which is only 10 minutes away, and eat her food instead. He always tries to use the excuse that she's making my favorite meal. Yesterday I wanted to surprise him by cooking one of his favorite meals, and although I was busy, I took time off work to cook for him. I even went grocery shopping to get exactly what I needed. Later, as I was setting up the table, his mom called. I told him that he didn't have to answer, but he did anyway. Like usual, she asked what we were having, but acted surprised that I cooked him a meal. She then went on to tell him that she cooked some sort of meal and told him to come over. He said, "Okay," which completely shocked me. I said, "Seriously?" As he started dressing up, getting ready to leave, he told me, "No offense, but this meal that his mom had cooked was even more of a favorite than the one I cooked," and grabbed his keys and ran out the door. I was devastated. I took his plate and threw it out and then ate my portion. As I was about to put the plate in the dishwasher, he got home looking angry, saying his mom lied about cooking that favorite meal and used it as an excuse to force him to have dinner with her. I was shocked, but then he sat down telling me to go ahead and reheat dinner please, and he was sorry. I told him no dinner after he abandoned it and I threw it out. He said, "What, you must be joking." And I told him that he disrespected my time and effort by choosing to go eat with his mom instead, so no dinner for you. He began yelling at me, asking me if I really did that, and then called me petty and horrible. Then went upstairs saying what I did was 100 times worse than what his mom has ever done. I definitely feel like I let my anger and frustration get the best of me, but it really felt unbearable having to live like this for so long. By the way, I'm 26 and he's 28. To make one thing clear, my husband only does this when it comes to food.